Good morning. It is Monday morning, and everything out here is white. I mean, even the stage that I come up to and do this live stream from is just covered with frost. All the rooftops in my neighborhood. Good morning, everybody. I'm seeing your names pour in. I'm sorry. Let's see, Bob and Claudia. I see you, Janisa, Wendy and Jeremy. Good morning to you. Mike and Kim, good morning. Yeah, I love the cool weather. It's finally winter, right? Lori Smalley, good morning. Aaliyah Hoffman, good to see you this morning. Karen Faust. So I love the changing of the seasons, and I can see from here down on the church property all the different colors of the trees, and then of course the field is all white with frost. Good morning, Mom. I see you there. 12 degrees on your deck. Who is that? Is that, I didn't see the name go by. Dang it. So yeah, everybody's experiencing your own sense of winter, the changing of the seasons. There's Steve and Andrea, Tim and Marcy. Welcome to you guys. So yeah, it's funny because if you scroll through these videos of these live streams, you see how but the light gets darker and darker and darker. So like at the beginning of each video, like some of them are just super dark. Oh, okay, that was Jan Atkins. Yeah, they said that. Morning, everybody. Barbara Richardson. Despina, I see you. Good morning. And, so you see the change of the season. If you just kind of scroll through the videos, you see how it gets darker, darker, darker. Then all of a sudden light, you see the time change. And then you see the layers. I get more and more layers. And then my summertime videos, I mean, I'm just wearing a t-shirt sometimes, but now I've got all these layers on. I love that. So Steve is saying that my mic it's plugged in, so I don't know why it's not working properly. I apologize if you can't hear me. Debbie King, good morning to you. So this morning's devotion, I just want to share with you, I think it's good. I did this last week too, where I jumped out of the Sermon on the Mount just to reflect more on what God is doing in my own heart. These morning devotions are just reflections of what God is doing in me, and I just share a bit of that. Hopefully, it's an encouragement to someone else. And so yesterday, after the worship service, an old friend came to visit me. Old friend in quotes, and that was my inner critic. I've talked about this before. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and so if you are perfectionistic, you know that familiar voice of the inner critic, and it happens whenever. And one of the things I'm really grateful for post my sabbatical is I've done a lot of work on my my emotional part of my life and my heart, and understanding myself better, and one of those areas was putting, kind of silencing my inner critic, which was so loud, so obnoxious in my life. I could never measure up, and it's ironic that voice came so strongly yesterday, especially after a message that I spoke on comparison and practicing gratitude. Because it was kind of like the rubber needs to meet the road here, because my inner critic, it's not that I was comparing myself to someone else disfavorably, and it was that I was comparing myself to that old, unreasonably high standard that is unattainable, and just feel like, I just never will measure up. I can never get this the way I'd want it, and so on. And it's completely unreasonable. It's not based in reality at all. And I know this to be true, but those old familiar feelings of self-doubt and criticism were so loud. And so the reason I'm telling you all this is because it's important to understand how in our growth, in our sanctification with God, as God reveals truth to us, it's not like it's an epiphany and then, well, that's a new chapter in my life. I won't have to deal with that anymore. I mean, I don't deal with the inner critic like I used to, but he's still there. Yesterday is a prime example of that, and I had to really practice what I preach. So I have these my inner world, right? My inner side of me is very troubled. And normally in the past, what I would do is I would numb that voice by just distracting myself. I would do anything I could to distract myself from those inner thoughts, those inner troubling thoughts. And I have since learned that that's not the best way to approach that. The best way to approach that is for me to just hold on to those thoughts and say, okay, let's feel that. Is that true? Is that reality, what that inner critic is telling you? And allow those thoughts and those feelings to kind of reside for a little while, and say, okay, God, what do you need to do here? What are you trying to teach me? What am I needing to learn about this afresh today? And I had kind of a busy afternoon. We were celebrating several birthdays yesterday with family, so I didn't think about it a lot, but then in the evening I started thinking about it, but Mackenzie came and surprised us, so we had lots of great conversations. So this morning, it wasn't until this morning I really had to kind of hunker down and deal with this inner critic in a meaningful way. And two thoughts were helpful to me as I practiced embracing what I was feeling and trying to allow God to teach me more deeply how I need to grow today. And one thought was, there was a struggle between me and God this morning, saying, my inner critic was causing my heart to say, you don't love me. How could you? You got to be so disappointed in me and my inability to attain this standard that my inner critic is shouting in my ear. And God if I could describe this tangibly, I feel like God would just move close to me and say, I love you. And we'd have this argument. No, you don't. Yes, I do. I love you. No, you don't. I would emotionally kind of hold him at a distance because I was too, what were some of the feelings I was feeling? I was feeling ashamed. I was feeling very vulnerable. I was feeling, I just didn't want him to look at me, And so I was feeling emotionally holding him at a distance, and God kept saying, let me in. I love you. No, you don't. Yes, I do. I love you. No, you don't. How could you? And so that was the first part of my devotional life is just stopping, slowing down this morning and letting God in, allowing those words, I love you, to sink in. I'm your heavenly Father. I'm here to comfort you and to put my arms around you and say, you are affirmed. You are accepted. I love you while you're feeling these feelings. And so that was step one, practicing that kind of stuff, which was helpful. But God, then once he moved in and got his arms around me, okay, now I have your attention. I'm here. You know I accept you. You know I love you. Let me teach you some things that might be hard to hear. Like, wait, what? So I let you in, and that's what you're going to do? But hang with me here. So God says, now that you're in my arms and you know how much I love you, I feel like he was telling me, Mark, you got to deal with this. This is pride. This is actually pride. You think because of this self-condemnation and this self-doubt and this vulnerability and this criticism of yourself that you are somehow in a lower position. But actually, by doing all this is expressing pride in your heart, because you feel like it is actually your responsibility to build my church. These are the words that I feel like God was telling me. And I was reading through Psalms and just searching the scriptures. God, reveal your truth to me. This is this whole process this morning. As I embraced these feelings, as I allowed God to come in and wrap his arms around me this morning, as I was dealing with this inner critic, this harsh critic, and God was saying, this is a pride issue. You think too highly of yourself in reality. This is all these bad feelings you're feeling. If you didn't have pride, this wouldn't affect you. And so it kind of shifted my thinking, and I turned to 1 Corinthians chapter 3 when Paul is saying, you in your flesh, you are saying, I follow Apollos, I follow Paul, I follow Peter, whatever. And he says, who are we? We're nobody, we're just servants. One person waters, another person plants, but God is the one who causes things to grow. And I wrote down the verse in my journal. It's chapter 3, verse 7. It says, this is what Paul says, neither he who plants and he who waters is anything. I love that. But only God who gives the growth. That's where I got the idea that God was saying, Mark, you're struggling with pride. You think too highly of yourself. You think that all of this responsibility of building Grace Fellowship is on your shoulders? Hello. You're just a servant. You're just watering. You're just doing what I have called you to do in the role that I have given you. God is as if he's saying, I see all your limitations. I see that you're imperfect. That's how I work, so that I get the glory. God is the one who is building his church. God is the one who is changing lives. God is using our imperfect contribution, all of us contributing in the roles that we all must play to encourage one another, to build one another up, to pray for one another, to say words, or to just to be present with people. God uses us, but we're only servants. It is God who causes the growth. And so God was, I believe this morning, it was really helpful to me anyway, that he was saying, Mark, you just got to deal with some pride here. You think too highly of yourself. You think too highly of your role. You got to let that go. And it actually gave me words to, in the end, finally silence that inner critic this morning. And because one of the things that my inner critic was saying is, you're weak. You are so imperfect. How can you be the one who is that is leading this little local congregation? And the words I feel like God gave me to that inner critic was, yep, you're right. I'm weak. And in that moment, the inner critic's like, what? Wait, no, you're supposed to be arguing with me. No, you're right. I am weak. I have tremendous limitations, and that's just the way it is. But thankfully, it's not me who is going to produce growth in people. It is God. And all of a sudden, that harsh inner critic was silent. It was the craziest thing. So I tell you these stories about my own personal life. It feels very vulnerable, but and not that I'm not trying to fish for compliments or fish for encouragement. The reality is, you have to know that this process of sanctification, I wish I could just only give you inspirational talks, but I think I would be paying you a disservice if I didn't also say, just how silly some of my own foibles and limitations and stuff feel when you actually talk it out. But that's real life. That's how I'm really processing my own walk with God. And in those hard times, rather than trying to build myself up, sometimes God moves in and says, yeah, feel it. Feel what that feels like. Feel the difficult inner turmoil. Let me come in and be a part of that, and let me teach you something that you weren't seeing. And for me this morning, it was exactly opposite of what I thought. I felt like I needed God to kind of build me up. And he said, but the reality, the truth was, no, you need to be knocked down a little bit. This inner voice, this inner turmoil you're experiencing is because you have a bit of pride. You think more highly of yourself than you ought. And it was such a relief. And that I could shift my thinking and my attention back to God and put the weight of what I was feeling back on his shoulders. He's the one to bear it. He's the one who's going to use us as imperfect vessels to do whatever he's going to do. And that is such a great feeling. And just putting my message yesterday into real-time practice today and working through some difficult turmoil, a troubled heart this morning, to embrace who God is. And to practice gratitude, to resist comparison for me this morning to that unattainable unattainably high standard, and to humble myself so that I could experience the peace of God that passes all understanding. So I hope that's helpful today, and I hope you're encouraged by that, the reality of our life, because I know we all experience that. So be blessed today, and I will see you later tomorrow morning. Yes, I'll be here, God willing. I'll see you tomorrow.